let's talk about Xbox in the year to come. Now, again, I'm 100% confessing guilt here. I'm doing the gamer thing of always looking ahead to the next thing.
Yeah.
I'm not denying we have so many good things right now. But as I was putting together the notes for this week's podcast and kind of reflecting back, like we were doing a few minutes ago, reflecting back on the Xbox showcase that we got this year and all the other events from this year, I started piecing things together and I was like, wait a second. Next year's, not only Xbox showcase, but next year's releases for Xbox could be, and I don't say this lightly, 2007 good. I think it could be in that kind of all-time list. So I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to list a bunch of games for you guys that we should be seeing next year. And then we'll get some reactions. So let's talk about the showcase itself. So this year, very good showcase, but we didn't even get Halo, Gears of War E-Day, no Fable, no Perfect Dark, Forza Horizon, still theoretically just in development. Elder Scrolls 6, no, of course, nothing yet this year. So realistically, we should see, with the possible exception, maybe likely exception of Elder Scrolls 6, we should see all of those at the showcase next year. Although I don't know about you guys, I could maybe see a cinematic teaser for Elder Scrolls 6 in 2026 that maybe would confirm the name and the region that it's set in. I don't know, but let's just start there with showcase with that list of games. Like, Michael, do you need anything else if that's the showcase next year?
I mean, I think if you look at that, you kind of have your headliners are already determined, right? And I even think when I look back on this year's showcase, we didn't have the major headliners, unless you want to lump Black Ops 7 into that. What I think that says is that, we've been talking about how Xbox has diversified their portfolio so much to where, like, for us, the things that we get excited about are new IP, new things from studios we are familiar with, things like Outer Worlds 2. Those are the things that I get excited about, and I think people shouldn't look at them as like filler or like the what's before the headliner, like, okay, this is cool, but we're really looking for the headliners. Like, no, those are the things that I am genuinely looking forward to. I don't necessarily need the big headliners, but when the big headliners do come, like we have listed here, that's crazy that they've filled out their catalog in a way where they don't need those big hitters, but when they have them ready, it'll definitely make a big splash. And when I look at the list that you have there, the things that are most realistic, at least to me, is Gears of War, E-Day, Fable, and Perfect Dark. I think those things we know that they're in development. We know that they are coming relatively soon. Elder Scrolls 6, man, listen, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not holding my breath for anything. Maybe a cinematic trailer to let folks know, like, hey, this is actually in the works. Don't forget. I think they at least owe us that much. A Forza Horizon would be cool. And I feel like Halo is still Halo Studios, I'm sure they're figuring out what they're doing with the series, but I don't feel like anything is necessarily imminent unless they're going to do something with Infinite, which I don't think is, happening. So when I look at those, Gears, Fable, Perfect Dark, those are the things I'm actually holding out for next showcase. If they could at least have, well, I mean, Fable's going to be out by the time summer next year, but
you think so? We'll talk more about that, but you went there. Let's go there.
Damn.
You're referring, I know, to, we've got that, the meteor strike is coming on May 26th, right? That nobody's,
Yes.
There's going to be a big blast radius. So you think Fable's gonna hit on the before the meteor hits or after the meteor hits?
I mean, damn, that's a good. Now that you mention it, I'm like, huh. I was so counting on like, oh, they could drop in like February or May or February or March, and they'll be fine. But I don't even know I'm not even sure if the game will be ready by that point. And maybe that could be their big hitter for the end of the year, for their fall. That could be their headliner for fall. But yeah, and if that's the case, then give Fable as much time as it needs, because this is a series that's it's been a long time coming since we've seen the last Fable. So if they're going to do this, I hope they can do it right. And I'll also give them that space to show everyone what they're about and not have to be lumped in with the biggest media property in the history of the world, right? But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, then that could be something big for this showcase next summer. And for selfishly for me, I would like to see it in preview form at a big event. I would like to ample time to play it beforehand and see what it's like before it comes out. So, but otherwise, like, I think with those three that I mentioned, Xbox is set, and everything else that comes around it is kind of that's amazing too.
I just looked it up because I couldn't quite specifically remember. Fable 3, so the last mainline Fable. I reviewed Fable The Journey, which was the not great Kinect thing that came later,
Okay,
but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fable 3 was 15 years ago already.
Yeah.
It was
wasn't even born.
2010. So that's a long time between mainline Fables. So you're right that you don't want to just throw it to the wolves and have it come out and get like a minute of attention, and then GTA comes out. So now Miranda, what I think Michaeal may be conveniently forgetting here is that right at the end of the showcase, when Phil Spencer made his one and only appearance, he talked about how next year is the 25th anniversary of Xbox, and that we would see new Fable, the next Forza, Gears of War E-Day, and the return of a classic that's been with us since the beginning. Fusion Frenzy, anyone? Or maybe something else?
Yeah.
If only. That would be delightful. I'd lose my mind on stage or whatever we're doing next year. It's definitely not going to be that, though. I think you have it in the notes, of course. It's got to be Halo. Everyone's saying there's got to be something with Halo. They can't keep quiet forever on it. Obviously, they're working on something. They have a whole studio for it. But what that Halo is kind of up for debate, or what direction they want to go. And honestly, I think it's anyone's game. Anyone could be right. Do you want to talk about your Halo prediction, or do you want me to?
Well,
get into, what I'm
it's
thinking?
not even mine. It's Tom Warren has a report from The Verge here that's certainly better sourced than just me speculating. Where he's pardon me, he says that it is a remaster of Halo 1. He doesn't mention Unreal Engine 5, but I think it's pretty safe to presume it would be in Unreal Engine 5, because that's what the studio is working in. We just saw that very same thing with the Oblivion remaster, where it was the original game underneath, but with an Unreal Engine 5 technology layer on top. So that would make sense in terms of the turnaround on it, because they haven't been working. The Halo Studios hasn't been working in Unreal 5 for that long.
Yep. And
so remaking it from scratch, Halo 1 in Unreal Engine 5 would take a lot longer than 2 to 3 years probably. Right. So a remaster, which this would be the second remaster for Halo 1.
Man, yeah.
Just like tied atop the leaderboard, Miranda, with Gears of War 1, which is getting its second remaster this year.
And then normally I feel like that would be a bit of a waste of time, and I think kind of poke fun at Sony for doing their remasters. Like, this game just came out. Like, why are you already making it like a repolished version? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. But at least these are like dated in their remasters, and I think the purpose of, as you said, is one, probably to train up their teams on getting on Unreal, getting everyone shifted over, getting familiar with the tools, getting everything set up, and then also, of course, to make sure that these games get on the other consoles now, which is the other part of it, right? It's like to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward. As much as all of us really love the original look and feel of Halo, like I know that like the back of my hand, I can play it in my sleep. I think there's this TikTok trend where people are like, oh, I'm going to watch this movie, it's a 2-hour flight. And they're like, but there's no screens, and they just close their eyes. That's me with Halo. Like I can just like play the game. as much as I love all of that, you kind of want to make sure that this is looking and feeling the best it can, even though it does still play incredibly well, for folks who are unfamiliar with the franchise, especially if they're trying to get more people interested in the Xbox brand beyond just its systems. So I think that would really make a lot of sense. Though I do hope that something comes alongside it with something that's not just here's the original again. It's like, I mean, I love you so much, but also the rest of the fans out here are like, but what's next? Like, we've just been sitting in this weird dark zone for so long, and I'm just kind of like, like I was saying, anything can happen. They could just, you said it before, Ryan, they could restart the series, or they could try to see if they can take something with Infinite and make something of that story, which, again, I really like that. I love that story. I thought it was a great direction, and it just feels like a waste if they leave that out on the table and just don't do anything with it. And I think there's some element of reset there, too, that could still be welcoming to folks who haven't played Halo before, that could potentially be okay. But
to your point about how, we goof on Sony for just constantly remastering their stuff. In Microsoft's defense, it's been 14, I guess, by the time this potential Halo 1 remaster would come out. 15 years.
Yeah, it's been some time.
The first Halo anniversary was for the 10th anniversary 15 years ago. And then Gears 1, the Ultimate Edition, was from 2014, I believe. So that it's been a minute since either one of those has been re-released and updated in any meaningful way.
Yeah. No.
It's one of those things where time is crazy.
Yeah.
because for us, when we talk about, it's like, oh yeah, we've how many times have we seen Gears of War, and how many times have we seen Halo, and how many times has Sony put out a Last of Us remaster for the PlayStation 4, now for PS5. Now there's a PS5 Pro update. Like, time be moving, man. There's a lot of people who probably haven't even played these games because to them, they're like, oh, that's old. I'm not gonna bother with that. So it's in a way I have to like retool my brain to think like it does kind of serve a purpose, because I look at this and I'm like, okay, cool, a Halo remaster. It doesn't do anything for me, but then you think about UE5. This is their opportunity to kind of get familiar with that tool set and put something out under that engine. And also with the multi-platform strategy, reaching out to a new audience, putting it on PlayStation and presumptively putting it on Switch. This is like a two-pronged approach for them to reassert what Halo is to a new audience. So it's not really, I don't think this kind of thing is for someone like me, but I understand that like there's a ton of other people who this would serve a purpose for. So you kind of, in a way, when I look at this, like, okay, I need to take a step back from my perspective and see the bigger picture, I guess. So I don't know, have fun with that, y'all.
Well, and it obviously, adding on to everything you just said, it would be a great way to mark the 25th anniversary of not just the Xbox, but also Halo, right? It's because it was a day one launch title. So it would be a pretty sweet way to go. And then Miranda, to what you were mentioning about it needing something new, something interesting for us diehards that can see this game in our sleep. The one thing that came to mind for me would be having certain affinity. Of course, the studio run by former multiplayer lead Max Hoberman, whose studio has done a bunch of support work on Halo over the years on various Halo projects, both Master Chief Collection and mainline stuff. But what if Certain Affinity redoes every Halo 1 multiplayer map in Unreal Engine 5, and we get the full multiplayer suite? Because that was kind of the one hang-up for me, and I think for a lot of Halo fans, about the original Halo Anniversary. Was like, yeah, it was cool that you could replay the campaign and at the touch of a button switch back and forth between the original graphics and the Anniversary kind of remaster. But if you remember correctly, the multiplayer was built off of Halo Reach, as I recall. The comments can correct me if I'm wrong here, where basically they made a bunch of Reach maps that mostly resembled the Halo 1 maps, but they weren't the exact, like you weren't playing Halo 1 multiplayer is basically what I'm saying. So
exactly.
If they can give us that with this 25th anniversary occasion and this supposed Unreal Engine 5 remaster, that would make me happy. Because if I could jump into Blood Gulch again, hang 'em high again, like that would be pretty sweet. So
I think there's some ways for them to do like really fun celebrations around that too. Like obviously the campaign is near and dear to our hearts, but as you're saying, there's so many memories in multiplayer. Like obviously a lot of LAN parties and just like friends coming over just to go run around and chase each other. And like I think I just saw someone yesterday posting about like, sometimes you just need to get your friends in Halo multiplayer and just go run around. Like that's just what you got to do. And I think there's a way to really celebrate that if they were to do something like that, and then like make some sort of like weekend event, or like make it free, or make it something way for everyone to get in and celebrate Halo in a way that's obviously super important to gaming's too, like in history. So I think it'd be really nice to see that. I did really want to quickly go back to your point about like what would be missing from this lineup, because as you're saying, like if this is Xbox's showcase next year, that's all-star cast. Like that's kind of like, as you guys were saying, like the big headliners we're sort of looking for as like fundamental parts of the Xbox DNA. But I'd also argue too that if that's your expectation, then anything else is just like even better. Like this past year, like I just keep thinking about how fantastic this showcase was, and even though we were like, hey, there's all these things are going to probably be missing, it's like even still we got like such cool collaborations, like having Game Freak announce a game with them. It's like, what? That's crazy. And it's not Pokemon. I mean, it's like, monster Pokemon kind of thing again still, but it's like edgy and neat. And these are the sort of collaborations I think we're looking for from Xbox. It's like, what is Xbox doing going forward? And we kind of keep looking to see like where they want to sort of land themselves. And we've had all these acquisitions, and I think we're really starting to see that come to form, this really wonderful, well-rounded division of games that are just publishing something for a little bit of everybody. And then of course we have like some of their own studios like doing Keeper. Like Double Fine's Keeper was just like that was just delightful. And so I think that's kind of what I would be looking for, is just more of the surprises, because like these are things that of course we're really excited for, we really want to see, but also they've just been, I think, letting some of their teams really have a good time, let their creativity go, and showcase that. And that's what I really want to see. And I think that was like the best case scenario for their acquisitions, right? We wanted to make sure that these are teams that are innovative and have great ideas, and we want to let them play and give us something to play that's really cool. So even though there's a lot of stuff still coming out this year, like Keeper is like at the top of my list. Like I am so stoked.
I need to reach out to Tim and see when he'll let the three of us come by and play it, since
we're right here.
We're right here. That's right. Double Fine is the closest Xbox studio to all three of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like 15 minutes away. So yes.
Yeah. I could see, like, weirdly to say, whenever I think of each of the consoles, I try to think of like what is their identity? And obviously for a long time Xbox was like the shooter box, right? Very mature Western games. But now I feel like there's an element of charm and like whimsy and goofiness that's really becoming identified with Xbox. And I love that for us. Like, yes, I want the ultra serious, intense war shooter with like Call of Duty. I want to get like really intense with Halo, but then also I want to go play Keeper and have a good time, or Outer Wilds. And I think that's just sitting in a really great place for their storytelling. And I'm hoping they just continue to lean into that.
I mean, it's funny you bring up, just as I think this is a fun little quick detour for a minute, is what is the identity of Xbox now? It's a really interesting question that you raise, because obviously that identity is changing, right? It's actually changing in real time right now. For me, and I know I've brought this up before. In fact, I think I've headlined episodes of Unlocked this way over the last year, but I think Xbox is arguably it's the RPG platform now. Not necessarily just Western RPGs, now that Square is starting to, we got the announcement of a couple Final Fantasies coming our way, but it's, if you like RPGs, you need to be in the Xbox ecosystem between Fable and Clockwork Revolution and Avowed and, well, just everything Obsidian is doing all the time.
Yeah.
The shooter box thing is, I'm not sure if it really is that anymore. Obviously, you mentioned Call of Duty, and they own Call of Duty now, so that's significant. But Halo has been MIA for a long time. Gears has been MIA for a while. So, I don't, these days, maybe it's
looking different.
Maybe it's RPGs that I think of first when I think of Xbox, which is fine. I love RPGs. That's Michael Hyam really loves RPGs.
Hey man, listen. And then like the thing to your point though, it's hard to this is me existing in the RPG space and a lot of those communities is that those games are time investments, and sometimes you don't know whether or not you're going to vibe with them. But with something like Game Pass, where you can try something for however long to see if it really vibes with you, there's nothing worse than buying a game, getting 10 hours in, and be like, I'll get back to it when I feel like it. It's not really vibing with it. But like, there's the loss on that cost and time, whatever, is kind of softened when you have a subscription service that packs in all these games. Like, well, I didn't really vibe with, I don't know, DQ11 or whatever, which you probably should. But it's like, well, then I'll try something else. And it's like, you don't have to like invest in a full price game or whatever, because the way RPGs are so like your tastes, you just don't know if it's going to really align with your tastes or even the time that you have to play a game. So it really has become not just like a place where you could find all the RPGs, but also where you can like test things out and where they're all in one place. Like a lot of these games are multi-platform, and there are some exclusives along the way. But in terms of making it approachable and accessible to most people, Xbox is the place in which it is most accessible. And so I think that's important in the RPG space, is not just having them on your platform, but giving you access to them in a way that makes sense and that you can't really do on other platforms.
Great point.
Yep.
All right, so getting back to the idea of next year on Xbox, and I said at the very top, words that I don't utter lightly, that next year and specifically next fall could rival fall of 2007, which is not only the best window in Xbox history so far, it's one of the best seasons in gaming history so far. I don't have to go through it. Everybody knows the mile-long list of absolute bangers and classics that dropped in the fall of 97. Fall of 07. But let's look at this for next year. So everything that Phil said at the end of Showcase is going to be scheduled to hit next year, because he talked about all of it in the context of the 25th anniversary of Xbox next year. So you've got the supposed, the rumored Halo Combat Evolved Unreal Engine 5 remaster. That is almost certainly going to drop as close to November 15th, 2026, if not that actual day, as possible, because that's the anniversary, and the whole point is marking the anniversary. You have now the other part of this is what we alluded to and we talked about earlier. The meteor strike, GTA 6, nobody's going near that. You'd be stupid to. So it pretty much means everything Xbox has got is going to either ship in the first 4 months of the year or in the last probably 5. So I actually think most all of this is going to end up dropping in the fall, which is why I bring up fall of 2007, fall of 2026.
I see.
Halo Combat Evolved Unreal Engine 5 remaster. Miranda, Gears of War E-Day, it's going to be fall, right? There's no way that's...
It's a fall game.
It's not coming before GTA, because we would have seen it at Showcase this year if it was, right?
Yep, absolutely. Like, that's going to be a bit later for sure.
Yeah. So already you've got Halo, you've got Gears, then Forza Horizon 6, unless they decide to drop the 6 and just reboot it since it's going to go multi-plat. I don't know, but whatever, Forza Horizon 6, that has traditionally been a fall game. Could it hit before GTA? It could, but again, I think using this pretty simple logic of the fact that it hasn't been announced yet, and they didn't announce it, didn't show it at Showcase. If it were coming out in March of 2026 before GTA, they probably would have announced it at Showcase. So I think it's looking like Forza Horizon 6 will be in the fall of 2026. Fable, we already talked through. Michael was talking about it. That game, it's I would bet fall for that one as well, because again, it skipped Showcase this year. We know how big a deal that is to them, and it is to me as well. If it were coming up, we know they delayed it into 26. They were originally aiming for what was presumably the fall of 2025. But if it were going to be spring of 26, they would have shown. We still haven't seen actual uncut gameplay of it. That would have happened at Showcase. Yeah. So I think we can pencil that in for the fall as well. So let me see if I'm leaving anything out. Oh, right. So I think all of that is going to be next fall. What could hit earlier in the year, there are two games that came to mind, both of which I'm really stoked for. They're not, you wouldn't call them A-listers like that entire group of games we just talked about for fall, but I do think Clockwork Revolution could be one that we see in the earlier part of 2026. And then another game that, maybe we'll still see it this year, but they've been so quiet for over a year now that I'm starting to wonder if this is going to slip into 26, but that game's Replaced, which is an Xbox exclusive.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if our super producer Tayo can pull up footage of Replaced real quick just to make everybody remember real quick, because I'll just vamp for a second on Replaced. If you're going, wait a second, which one's that again? It is the gorgeously pixel art, Blade Runner-y, cyberpunk looking action adventure that I a year ago on this show talked about, that I got to play an early build of. The frame rate was terrible, but everything else was awesome. So
it looks so cool.
Yeah, I want
to play it so bad.
Look at this. This game, and this is year-old footage. It's only going to look and probably play and certainly perform better. Obviously this video performs fine, but so this game is an Xbox exclusive, and since the developer's been pretty radio silent, they didn't show up at any of the recent showcases, be it the Keighley Fest or the Xbox Showcase or the Sony State of Play. I guess, well, they wouldn't be at that one since they're not coming to PS5 yet. But anyway, Replaced seems like it might be a 2026 game now as well. I played this segment right here. This. Oh my God, this game!
That's just
so cool.
for audio listeners, like, look this up. Like, it's a very stylish game that reminds me of Cloudpunk. I don't know if it's like a little indie joint, but the visual style is very much like that, but kicked up to like higher production value.
Look at the lighting in this,
and
it's so
and like the action, like it looks like the action is as free flowing as you would expect from a like 2D action platformer along with it. So I really like what they're doing with the aesthetic, because it's not just straight up cyberpunk sci-fi.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It has a retro futuristic vibe to it as well, and I think this could be a sleeper hit.
Oh, I said, I'll say it again. If everything breaks right, big if, but just the spidey sense tingle that I got after, being somebody that plays and reviews and evaluates games for 20 something years now, this could be a 10. Like, I think it's got that kind of potential based on what I've seen and played.
Wow.
Like, I think this could be extremely, extremely special. And I hope it is.
This would be a good early year release if they can swing it. It'd just be nice to have something like this. I think I've noticed too, the first half of the year, the first few months, especially like March, we've been getting like big games. Like, it's not, and it's been like that for a few years now, but it's it's a time to release like some really cool artistic stuff or whatever you want to showcase that's just before the holiday rush or that you want to have more breathing time. So I think this one would be fantastic to have then.
So to recap, and I want to get final thoughts from both of you, including whether or not you think I'm completely crazy or off the mark on any of this stuff. But I really think it's going to be Halo Remaster, Gears of War E-Day, Forza Horizon 6, and Fable, the core four, all hitting in fall of 2026. And then Clockwork Revolution floating somewhere in there. Could it be August? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But I also think that's a good candidate for pre-GTA 6 and then replaced. I agree with Miranda. I think before GTA makes a lot of sense for that one, especially since it'll be, probably only like a 10, 20 hour game that you could just completely savor before GTA comes out. So, again, I think this could be an truly historically amazing time for Xbox next year. Even though I know the haters will be like, well, it's all coming to PS5. Great. It'll be a historically great fall for PS5 as well. That's fine.
Yeah.
The point is we get to play these games. And that's
yeah. Michael, your thoughts on that possible fall 2026 and just overall 26 lineup.
Boy, you're setting a really high bar there, buddy, by comparing it to 2007. But I don't think it has to clear that bar, but if it can come close, that's a big W for all of us, really.
Yeah.
The thought that I have is that maybe this was because I was a young and impressionable kid back in 2007, but everything that hit during that time felt completely new.
Yeah.
Mass Effect felt completely new. Even though Halo 3 is a sequel, that multiplayer suite was a major step in the right direction. Yeah, and BioShock, that was new at the time.
Rock
all
Band.
Of these games, even though a lot of these games are built on previous entries or whatever, like that was built off of Guitar Hero, of course, right? But all of these felt like a significant step, even if they were built off the back of something else. And so it was just like one thing after the other that was just completely new and you're older than me. So like even at the time, I'm sure you felt the same way too. Like, these were all very novel experiences at the time. And like, it's hard to capture that magic again. And so when I look at the things that are headlining for the end of the year or end of next year, presumably, Halo and Gears, like, okay, I don't want to say they're known quantities, but they're kind of known quantities. Like, we know what those games are going to do, and they're going to do it really, really well. Don't get me wrong. So I really look to things like what Fable is going to do and what Clockwork Revolution is going to do. I look at those two games like, if those are going to be part of the headlining party in fall of next year or sometime next year, I think I'm really looking at those to be the ones to push the bar, to give us something that's genuinely new, genuinely surprising. And I think for me, at least, again, this is me being the RPG nerd that I am, I think it's those games that can really set the tone for this current generation to be like, hey, like, there are new experiences to be had. Yes, we have our Forzas, Gears, and Halos, but these are new experiences. Yeah, Fable is a sequel, but given that this is something completely different from what we've seen 15 years ago from the series, like, it is ostensibly it feels like it's going to be a brand new game. So it's really hinging on those games for me. And even back in 2007, between BioShock wasn't that much of an RPG compared to System Shock, but Mass Effect at the time too. Like, RPG experiences are the ones that can really, really help the platform stand out, or like be the ones that when you look back at the year, be like, damn, 2026 was crazy. That was a good year because of things like Fable and Clockwork Revolution, really pushing the bar. So I don't want to set my expectations super high, but those are the ones I'm keeping my eye on.
Well said, sir. Miranda, your thoughts on this possible all-timer of a lineup next year?
I'm skeptical about Gears E-Day being next year. It still could be, but I don't. Every time when we went to talk to them, it felt like Gears E-Day was still like pretty far out, and that was last year. And I guess if it were next year, that'd be like 2 years. That could be considered far out, but I think at the end of the year that might work. But I don't know. I'm skeptical. We just obviously haven't seen anything. So maybe if we see something like later in December, I could see them doing like a tease or something. That could make it feel a little bit more confident that it's next year. I'd be stoked if it's next year though. So that's the only where I'm like, I don't know. That's when I think it could slip into 2027. But I would prefer if it is next year, and that would be an incredible celebration of Xbox's anniversary, and of course, a great treat for all of us. And Ty, threw up Future Frenzy on here if we could have that too. That'd be great. If we could get just some, just like a little, look at this little improvement. What is it? I don't know. Just something.
Oh,
just
man.
Bring it back.
Fusion Frenzy. What a time.
And I guess just to put the punctuation mark on this discussion before we move along here, I might as well just say, okay, well, then what are we looking at for 2027? And believe it or not, there's actually, I've got a little bit of a list here, a 3-game list, because there's 3 notable games that have already been announced that we haven't heard anything about. And I'll even throw in a 4th. The 4th would be more of a pie in the sky scenario, but I do think it's in play. 2027 will be the 20th anniversary of Halo 3, as Michael had mentioned Halo 3 earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Halo Studios decides to keep the Unreal remaster thing going, particularly when you're looking to go multi-platform and introduce PlayStation and potentially Nintendo fans to it. And maybe we get a Halo 3 remaster in 2027. But that's pure speculation. There is not an ounce of sourcing to that. I am just wishing aloud. But 3 games that have definitely been announced that I think are fairly likely for 2027. And no, Elder Scrolls 6 isn't one of them. That's going to be 2028, maybe even 2029. But in 27, 2 years from now, Perfect Dark probably, because I don't think that's going to be next year. Everwild, if it's not dead, we haven't seen it in years. Maybe that project is toast. I don't know, but we've not heard of a public cancellation. We haven't heard anything from Rare about it or about anything else they might be working on. So for now, I'll assume that Everwild is still alive and still in development. So maybe 2027 on that one. Contraband is a game that I think I said this on the air when we were all live after the showcase. I actually am at the point where in my mind, Contraband's dead. It's canceled because they announced it 4 years ago with a cinematic teaser, and we've not only seen nothing since, but heard nothing, literally nothing since. So hope it's not dead. Avalanche, makers of Just Cause, super talented studio. Would love to see them do a 70s, cool vibe thing that they were clearly indicating they were up to here. But okay, if by chance it's still alive, maybe that's a 2027 scenario. And then one more that's far more probable than Everwild or Contraband. The one big game that MIA'd this year, but State of Decay 3, right?
Yeah.
State of Decay 3 is probably not next year, because why the hell would Microsoft ship it against all of its A-listers? And also, we also have yet to see real gameplay of it, like the actual game in motion. I mean, we've seen, I guess, game engine stuff, but State of Decay 3, a game or a series that I'm super fond of, but it's been seemingly a bit of a bumpy road on that one since it was unveiled. But I think that one could very well be 2027 as well. So we've got a lot to look forward to is kind of the bottom line here.
Yep. I want State of Decay 3. State of Decay is like something when you just like see a chocolate bar or hear like a treat that you like, you're like, yeah, that sounds really good. That's how State of Decay is for me. I'm like, you know what? I do want that. Like, it's been a while. I'd like a little treat for myself, go run around. It's just a good time.
Yeah. State of Decay, I think, is, I don't want to say overlooked because it obviously has a huge community, a huge following. It's a major franchise. But between State of Decay 1 and 2, like, I felt like 2 took some time to get to a place where it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And State of Decay as a franchise, I think, with 3 is an opportunity for it to come out and be like, hey, we are a big player amongst the sea of how many major franchises too. Like State of Decay felt like not a side project, but it was like, oh, cool. Like I'll jump into that when I have a chance. We're just chilling. There's no real like huge expectations behind these, behind 1 and 2 when they came out. So, but 3, I feel like this could be a marquee franchise for Xbox. And I think the bones of State, I don't know if you ever played State of Decay, but for those who haven't, like the bones of that game, of that franchise are really, really good between, and I think the genres that it is kind of plays off: survival, base building, management, third person shooting, like all of these elements we've seen in other games and a lot of indie joints that have enjoyed a lot of success in their own right. But I think State of Decay 3 is an opportunity for them to like bring all those mechanics that they've done well in the past, elevate them and package them in a way that like, oh, okay, I'm familiar with all these different elements, but here's a game with all of them done right. So again, that's that kind of putting expectations on a game we haven't really seen yet. But from what I've known and played from State of Decay 1 and 2, like there's a big opportunity for it to be like a major game for them.
Yeah, you mentioned State of Decay 2 taking time to round into form, Michael. I played State of Decay 2 before launch and at launch, which turned out to be the worst time to play State of Decay 2.
Yeah.
Because it got so much better with all the updates. But yeah, I reviewed the first one for IGN. And I just remember, I so vividly remember when that one fell into our laps and it was like, wait, what is this? And like, you know, it was just this new thing out of nowhere. And I'd be curious to ask you, Michael, because I have pretty strong opinions about State of Decay and mostly regarding how much I love it, but in the kind of game it is, like I consider State of Decay a role-playing game. Do you consider it an RPG?
Oh, there's a lot of RPG elements in it. I mean, it depends on who you ask and what constitutes an RPG, but it's a mix of RPG elements and management sim.
Yeah, it's a relationship management game, but it's an RPG.
Yeah.
To broaden the definition, like, yes, that is definitely within the realm of it. But I mean, because that game has so much more attached to it that is of the action genre, of the management sim genre, of like the survival horror with RPG elements too. Like it does tap into those things that make my brain tick in terms of like that progression, that satisfaction of building something, of managing these different mechanics and bars that I need to fill, and making sure my town is happy. Like all those things are definitely RPG adjacent, if not embedded in the genre. So I would love to see State of Decay 3 lean heavier into those things too. If they did essentially make this an RPG in many senses, man, sign me up.
And I think I gotta check here. My brain is saying that State of Decay is using Unreal Engine 5. Yes, it is. Okay, I was correct.
Okay,
so
sure.
The reason I mention that is because that's always there's sort of two bugaboos about the first two games, and we thought the second one was going to fix this, and it really didn't. But one was the jank, right? Like,
yes,
State of Decay 1, super janky game.
Yep.
Very lovably so, but even I even think the developers would acknowledge, like, yeah, it was not the most polished thing on earth. And then with 2, we thought, okay, or at least I thought, all right, well, Microsoft owns the studio now. They're putting a bigger budget into this, but it's still, as Michael mentioned, still shipped in pretty rough shape. It's been quite, added on a ton to now, and it's in a great place now. But yeah, with 3 now moving to Unreal Engine 5, so higher production value, and hopefully it can ship without the jank and be like you said, Michael, let all its systems, its really, really cool systems shine right out of the gate, and not have to wait like for months of content updates to get there.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Unlocked, IGN's weekly Xbox show. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to watch the full episode at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of Unlocked drop every Thursday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.